Hi, this is Regina Y. Favors coming to you with a rebound relationship series titled Understanding Relationship Failure 10 Reasons. This is going to be a collective lecture, and it is divided into multiple videos. So, you will need to listen to the first part, the second, the third, and so on. So, understanding relationship failure is important because if you don't take the time to self assess what went wrong with the relationship, you are doomed to repeat the same types of mistakes. Understanding relationship failure also points to the fact that most relationships fail oftentimes with our contribution, but it could also be that you just really chose the wrong person, or the person was just not ready to be in relationship, or the person could have chosen you as maybe a fallback plan until they were able to marry someone else. So I want you to take some time to listen to the full series. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will respond. Also, take some time to hit the subscription button and then hit the notification bell if you are interested in further videos. Thank you for visiting the channel. So this lecture is subject to fair use. So I will be commenting, criticizing, teaching, and pursuing scholarship using this lecture. So reason number 6, not the marrying kind, part 1, when ultimatums don't work. And this is sometimes that when we are becoming, or we are pursuing becoming irreplaceable, we oftentimes give our partners ultimatums, but as you will see, they don't always work. Not every partner is the marrying kind. People will legally and formally marry you, but their marriage to you does not mean that they have married you psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. Ultimatums do not work with certain partners who are not the marrying kind. Ultimatums suggest that there should be fairness. If I treat you right, you should treat me right. But relationships are not always based on fairness. This is something that I've had a problem with in my past. I don't know for certain if I have just given a straight ultimatum. There have been some times in my life where I have stood up for myself and I have made my case. But I think somewhere I might have believed or just assumed that if I made an ultimatum, then the person would leave, or there really wouldn't be a reason for me to make an ultimatum, because on some deep level I knew they were going to leave anyway. But I have come to realize, especially in my last situation, I don't think I necessarily gave him an ultimatum. I just wanted to understand whether or not he was still with the person, because they kept going back and forth. They kept saying they were not with each other, but then they would go behind my back and have sex and play around and just be all around shady. I wonder then how much of a difference it might have made if I said choose her or choose me. And maybe I would not have stayed in the relationship as long as I did for 2 years and 8 months had I said make a choice. And so maybe somewhere I was struggling about making a choice about him, because I know with women, we want to get married. Not all of us, but usually if we are in a relationship, we are already thinking marriage. Men are not always the same way, but we've already planned the wedding. We know the wedding dress. We know where we're going to get married. We know the people that we're going to invite, all that kind of good stuff. So I think to myself and I reflect on that relationship, and I don't actually remember telling him that he needed to that he needed to make a choice. So somewhere I must have believed that he was never going to make a choice, and particularly choosing me. And in some ways he didn't make a choice in choosing her because he kept playing around with me as well. So that's that statement that you see there about fairness. If I treat you right, you should treat me right. That assumption is the type of assumption that keeps us in relationships. If a person desires to treat you wrong, they start early. They don't wait 3 months into the relationship. If they're going to treat you like trash, they're going to do it much earlier in the relationship because they have to groom you, and abusers groom you. So I should have thought about that a lot more when I was thinking about pushing him into a decision. However, ultimatums do not work with certain partners who are not the marrying kind, meaning that he was not the marrying kind. He's married now and still cheating. In business and corporate contexts, the ultimatum signals the final step of negotiations between proposer and responder in reference to a commodity, so a product. The negotiation is based upon who accepts and who rejects. Offers typically reflect a 50-50 split and may be accepted at a lower percentage. Responders typically do not reject offers when there is an equal opportunity. If the commodity is accepted, then distribution follows. However, if a commodity is rejected, no one receives anything. And you sort of have to think about, in some ways we all need to take a course in mediation and conflict resolution, as well as in any sort of, business negotiation context, because you will see a lot of just logical thinking when it comes to proposing and responding and rejection, because men actually think logically and rationally, and I have said this through all of the audios that they think logically and rationally. So when you reject them, you are rejecting them in a logical sense, that you have made a logical assessment of the situation. However, they also understand that we think emotionally. So sometimes they may logically think about us as not actually making a logical assessment of the situation. That's how they are able to sort of keep us both at arm's length and up under their arm, because they know that our yeses don't mean yeses and our no's don't mean no's. That they know that they can do something or say something or look something or smack their lips or something, and we will come running and fall and do all kinds of goofy stuff. And then when things don't work out the way that we want them to work out, we give them an ultimatum. And they understand that ultimatums don't work on them. I don't think ultimatums work really on any man. You give him an ultimatum, and somehow he will come around from a different angle and do exactly the same thing. I don't think they can be sort of tamed or domesticated in that situation. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful, because they know they have options. So if you want to give them an ultimatum, you just go right ahead. But they know that the romantic marketplace is competitive, and that there's a high supply of women who don't necessarily want marriage, and so they have opportunities, they have potential alternatives, and they can cultivate backup mates. Motivation may then play a part in the ultimatum game, because a responder might compare what he or she is getting relative to the proposer's share. A responder's decision to accept or reject may reflect his or her perspective on social comparison, what I get in terms of what he or she gets. Thus, rejection of an offer might suggest that the responder thought the offer was unfair. Responders might still accept offers lower than expected when randomly generated, but not always those offered by the proposal. So the ultimatum works like a proposal. And so we all know that proposals can be rejected or accepted. So there was the initial relationship dynamic. You both chose each other. In some way, you kind of hinted at proposing to sort of be in relationship with each other. And maybe there was a hidden goal of being committed and staying with each other. And these are long-term cohabitating relationships and marriage. You ordinarily would not sort of propose or give an ultimatum if you are dating. So things are not going well in the relationship. Maybe there's conflict, maybe there's cheating. Cheating is always a counter argument. Let's just wait is a counter argument. I talked about it in previous audios. So then to resolve the conflict, say with cheating, infidelity, you propose an ultimatum. And an ultimatum then could work like a counter argument. You know, the person is cheating. Here is the ultimatum. Don't cheat anymore, or choose me or that other person. And you run the risk of giving an ultimatum because the partner might think your ultimatum as unfair. In the second bullet point, that last sentence, thus, rejection of an offer might suggest that the responder thought the offer was unfair. So if your partner decides to reject your offer, your ultimatum, then that means he thinks it is unfair, and that he can equally propose a counter argument and say, let's just end the relationship. So again, ultimatums don't really work anymore. You know, there has to be some sort of incentive for a male partner in particular to remain in a relationship. That means you have to be some sort of high status, high value woman. You have to have economics and resources. So it depends on what sort of value you bring to the relationship. Some people do not marry because they believe in marriage. Some people will marry you because they simply need a place to stay. Some people will marry you because you give them an ultimatum. They will give in to the ultimatum, but that does not mean that they have married you. If a better option comes along, they will leave one partnership for another. People don't respect take it or leave it. They can always take it for a time. So in some ways, the reason why a male partner might find your ultimatum unfair is because it's their way of thinking. You know, they automatically think they are high status as men. You know, after all, I talk about in the first two audios of this series that they have the birthright. They were created first. So any male tends to think in some way or some form or other that they are high status, that they can take you or leave you. There are many more women out there. They might cry over you for a minute, but there are many more women out there that they can actually have. So people don't respect take it or leave it. They tend to be offended that you would put them on an ultimatum. And it's like, who are you to put me on an ultimatum? You know, I can do better than you anyway. All right, marriage and no good match. If you have to use an ultimatum on a partner, then that means the relationship is already headed towards death, or it is actually dying. He might marry you, but he will also marry someone else. He might have been a man you married who needed fixing. He needed money, a place to stay, some help, any help. He might marry you, but he will also marry someone else. So you give a person, a man, an ultimatum, choose me. He can choose you. He can absolutely choose you. Okay? But he could also, and he can marry you legally. You have it on record. He can marry you legally. However, he can step outside of that house and cultivate a backup mate, have a mistress on the side, put her up in a house, fund her in that house, and he's married to her as well. You know, if you think about our parents and the parents before them, I'm 44 years old. So if you remember some parents that they put up with a cheating husband from the time they married that person, that they would be married, carry on a marriage relationship from Monday through Friday. And then they'll leave on Friday for the weekend and be at the house of their mistress, right? And then they would return on Monday. And somewhere that man groomed the current partner, for that type of psychological abuse. Now, the current partner is a contributor, because that's not just one time he has done something like that. He's been doing that for many, many years, to the point that they are now 25, 30, 40 years married. And I just think that's so interesting how what we put up with when we know that the person doesn't want us, doesn't really want to marry us. They probably married us for convenience. You got people who will literally go to the courthouse and marry you just because they need a place to stay, just because they need some help in that moment. And then they get up on their feet, they get a good job, they get a little money saved, and then you come home and they're gone. They do it every day. She might marry, but she might also cheat. She might have been a woman who lost the man she wanted but decided to settle with you, allowing you to marry her but also returning to the man when he comes back into the picture, on and off. You know, before this series, and I didn't really know that women cheated. You know, there's this long sustaining status quo narrative about men cheating. There are films and books and seminars and talk shows all about a man cheating. But I didn't realize until sort of reflecting on my past situation, and then reflecting on the battling with my ex and his ex, and then reflecting on some of the YouTube videos I have watched on this subject, that women cheat harder than men. And that's very surprising to me, because I've never cheated in any of my relationships. It just didn't make sense to me. If I was with you, I was with you. But more and more, I began to realize that women compete with each other. As soon as they see you have a man, and if they don't have a man, or they can have a man, somehow they compete for attention with your man. Even if their man is standing nearby, they are married to that man, somehow they're going to compete with you for your own man's attention. There's a woman who lives around the corner from me in my apartment complex. And when my ex was staying here, when we were together, when I would go to the store, I would have to pass her, to go to the store. And so when I found out, that she was new, I said, "Oh, hi." She didn't say a word. And And it was kind of noisy that day, so I didn't think much of it. When I went back to the store, I had to pass her up to go to the store. I said hi again, and she didn't say a word. And once I realized that she actually heard me, I knew not to ever say anything to her again. However, my ex was coming home from work one day, or I think he was just coming from the burger place. She would see us walk to the burger place, sit at the burger place, eat at the burger place. She saw us all the time together. When he was walking from the burger place or from work, he told me that she said hi to him. And I said, oh, isn't that interesting? And I knew what she was after. I didn't know it was about competing at the time, but I knew what she was after. She was trying to go behind my back. Now, I don't know if they've ever messed around. If they did, a woman can be very nasty. She will tell you herself if she messed around with your man. So she never told me that, never gave me an indication. Had he stayed here longer, however, they probably would have, because the way her apartment is situated around the corner, it's very easy for him to sneak in and sneak out. So I'm so glad he's gone and I don't have to deal with her anymore. But she might marry, but she might also cheat. That is such a strange thing for a woman to cheat. We all on every level cheat emotionally. We get kind of emotionally tied to someone, even at our jobs. That's why I never think it's a good idea to sort of have lunch with a male coworker, because you can get very attached. But I just thought that was very interesting that women cheat even worse than men. The marriage that does not begin on honest, genuine grounds, where two parties truly want to marry and not out of convenience, may be toxic. And this cannot be, further from the truth that, I talk about my hastiness in previous audios of me getting into relationships hastily and not taking the time and realizing that all I was doing was just basically creating chaos. So here is a scenario. I'm going to try to read it as slow as I can, and just remember it while we go through the other slides. The two people who leave their marriages to marry each other might have been toxic to the people they married. In other words, if Jane has an affair with Bill and Bill leaves his wife for Jane, then it is arguable that Jane and Bill were just the types of people who might marry someone to pass the time, to be less bored. Once the people they want come along, in this case, Jane and Bill find each other, even though they are still married, it doesn't matter that they are married. They believe that they have found the one in their infidelity partner. Therefore, you were never a match for that person, or the person did not find you to be a match for them. However, people who resolve that you are not a match for them, even before the marriage begins, will keep you on standby until the person they want comes back into the picture, or they find someone else more exciting. People who choose you for their own interests without the benefit of increasing at least one of those interests and converting it to long term are toxic. So you see Jane and Bill, somehow they married other partners first before meeting each other, and I guess they just put up with those other partners, and they gave off this sort of inclination that they were committed. But you can tell they were not committed, because how is it that someone can come along and cause you or contribute to you leaving your partner so easily? So in other words, Jane and Bill were not really the marrying kind, even though they have married each other, because they might stay together for a minute and then another person comes along to, distract and pull them out of that relationship, or both partners might cheat on each other in that relationship, right? So sometimes you can just not be a match for a person, and then sometimes the person just may not be the marrying kind overall, even if they marry. Some people will marry for insurance, to have two incomes in the house, to have access to other resources you might have. You might have the car to be able to get a house together, and it's almost like a roommate situation, but legally. And so it's just very interesting how people come together, how they pursue interests, and you honestly believe that you're going to be with that person forever, and then something happens and you are not. All right, so hopefully you were able to gain insight from this video discussion. Please like, subscribe, and visit. So please like the video, hit the notification bell for more discussions. I am re-uploading all of my audios, so I needed to make some changes to them. You can visit my website for more content at reginayfavors.com. If you want to send me an email, you can send an email reginayfavors@yahoo.com. Please also purchase the book. It's going to come out in spring 2021. So I had to make changes to my book to update it, and I also updated the title. So the original title was Bait, Hook, and Switch: Confessions of a Rebound Girl, and I have updated the title to Toxic Encounters: Why People Pursue Rebound Relationships. So right now I'm still basically editing it, and I want to make it available in spring 2021. So thank you very much for visiting my channel, and I am Regina Y. Favors. Have a great day.